Everyone can repeat after me. Ahaya, Ba'ashem, Yeshaya, Shema Yasha'alam, Ahaya, Allahaya Nawa, Ahaya, Echad. Shema Yasha'alam, Ahaya, Allahaya Nawa, Ahaya, Echad. Shema Yasha'alam, Ahaya, Allahaya Nawa, Ahaya, Echad. Hear, O Israel, the Lord our God is one. All right. Praise the Most High. All right.
Okay, let's go ahead and turn over to Exodus, the 20th chapter.
Says it's offline.
Says we're offline. What's going on there?
What?
You running the cable?
No.
You figure it. All right, Exodus, the 20th chapter, and the first verse. And Ahia spake all these words, saying, I am the Most High, thy power, which have brought thee out of the land of Egypt, out of the house of bondage. Thou shalt have no other gods before me. Thou shalt not make unto thee any graven image, or any likeness of anything that is in heaven above, or that is in the earth beneath, or that is in the water under the earth. Thou shalt not bow down thyself to them, nor serve them. For I am a jealous power, visiting the iniquity of the fathers upon the children unto the third and fourth generation of them that hate me, and show mercy unto thousands of them that love me and keep my commandments. Thou shalt not take the name of Ahia thy power in vain. For the Most High will not hold him guiltless to take of his name in vain. Remember the Sabbath day to keep it holy. 6 days shalt thou labor and do all thy work. But the seventh day is the Sabbath of the Most High thy power. In it thou shalt not do any work, thou, nor thy son, nor thy daughter, thy manservant, nor thy maidservant, nor thy cattle, nor thy stranger that is within thy gates. For in 6 days Ahia made heaven and earth, the sea, and all that in them is, and rested the seventh day. Wherefore the Most High blessed the Sabbath day and hallowed it. Honor thy father and thy mother, that thy days may be long upon the land which the Most High thy power giveth thee. Thou shalt not kill. Thou shalt not commit adultery. Thou shalt not steal. Thou shalt not bear false witness against thy neighbor. Thou shalt not covet thy neighbor's house. Thou shalt not covet thy neighbor's wife. Nor his manservant, nor his maidservant. Nor his ox, nor his ass. Nor anything that is thy neighbor's. And all the people saw the thunderings and the lightnings and the noise of the trumpet and the mountain smoking. And when the people saw it, they removed and stood afar off. And they said unto Moses, Speak thou with us, and we will hear, but let not Ahia speak with us, lest we die. And Moses said unto the people, Fear not, for the Most High has come to prove you, and that his fear may be before your faces, that ye sin not. And the people stood afar off, and Moses drew near unto the thick darkness where Ahia was. And Most High said unto Moses, Thus thou shalt say unto the children of Israel, Ye have seen that I have talked with you from heaven. Ye shall not make with me gods of silver, neither shall ye make unto you gods of gold. An altar of earth thou shalt make unto me, and shalt sacrifice thereon thy burnt offerings and thy peace offerings, thy sheep and thine oxen. In all places where I record my name I will come unto thee, and I will bless thee. And if thou wilt make me an altar of stone, thou shalt not build it of hewn stone. For if thou lift up thy tool upon it, thou hast polluted it. Neither shalt thou go up by steps into mine altar, that thy nakedness be not discovered thereon. All right, we got our readers there. Okay, readers, come forward there, please. All right, we're going to be starting at Deuteronomy, the first chapter and the first verse. 5 apiece. Okay.
Shabbat Shalom, Yasharella.
Shabbat Shalom.
Tribe of Judah, Akbar. Deuteronomy chapter 1, verse 1. These be the words which Moses spoke to all Israel on this side Jordan in the wilderness, in the plain over against the Red Sea, between Bohan and Tophel and the Ban and Hazua and Dasahab. They are 11 days' journey from Moab, by the way of Mount Seir, until Kadesh Barnea. Verse 3. And it came to pass in the 14th year, in the 11th month, of the first day of the month, that Moses spoke unto the children of Israel, according to all the Lord had given him and the commandment unto them. After he had slain Sihon, the king of the Amorites, which dwelt in Heshbon and Og, and the king of Bashan, which dwelt in Ashtaroth and dwell. Verse 5. On this side of Jordan, in the land of Moab, began Moses to declare this law, saying,
Shabbat Shalom, everybody. Shalom, Yasharala.
Shabbat Shalom.
Verse 6. And the Lord, our power, spake unto us in Horeb, saying, Ye have dwelt long enough in this mount. Turn you and take your journey, and go to the mount of the Amorites, and unto all the places nigh thereunto, in the plain, in the hills, and in the vale, and in the south, and by the sea, by the seaside, to the land of the Canaanites, and unto Lebanon, unto the great river, the river Euphrates. And behold, I have set the land before you. Go in and possess the land which the Most High sware unto your fathers, Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, to give unto them and to their seed after them. And I spake unto you at that time, saying, I am not able to bear you myself alone. And the Most High, your power, hath multiplied you, and behold, ye are this day as the stars of heaven for multitude.
Shabbat Shalom, friend.
Shabbat Shalom.
Nasi Yasha, Ban Wahaba, Ban Israel. Deuteronomy, first chapter, verse 11. The Most High thy power of your fathers make you 1,000 times so many more as ye are, and bless you as he hath promised you. How can I I myself alone bear your comings, and your burden, and your strife. Take ye wise men, and understanding, and know them among your tribes, and I will make them rulers over you. And he answered me and said, the thing which thou hast spoken is good for us to do. So I took the chief of your tribes, wise men, and knowing, and made them heads over your captains over thousands, and captains over hundreds, and captains over fifties, and captains over tens, and officers among your tribes.
Shabbat Shalom, family.
Shabbat Shalom.
Shalom, Makar, tribe of Judah, house of Israel. We left off at 16 years. And I charged your judges at that time, saying, hear the cause between your brethren, and judge righteously between every man and his brother, and the stranger that is with him. Verse 17. Ye shall not respect persons in judgment, but you shall hear the small judgment. But you shall hear the small as well as the great. You shall not be afraid of the face of man, for the judgment is the power, is our power. And the cause that is too hard for you, bring it unto me, and I will hear it. Verse 18, and I commanded you at that time all the things which ye should do. Verse 19, and when we departed from Horeb, we went through all that great and terrible wilderness, which you saw by the way of the mountains of the Amorites, as the Most High, our power, commanded us. And we came to Kadesh Barnea, and I said unto you, ye are come unto the mountain of the Amorites, which the Most High, our power, doth give unto us.
Shabbat Shalom,
Shabbat Shalom.
my brother Shiyah, house of Israel, tribe of Judah. This is verse 21. Behold, the Most High power hath set the land before thee. Go up and possess it, as the Most High power of thy fathers hath said unto thee. Fear not, neither be discouraged. And ye came near unto me, every one of you, and said, we will send men before us, and they shall search us out the land, and bring us word again by what way we must go up, and into what cities we shall come. And the saying pleased me well, and I took 12 men of you, one of a tribe, and they turned and went up into the mountain, and came unto the valley of Eshcol, and searched it out. And they took of the fruit of the land in their hands, and brought it down unto us, and brought us word again, and said, it is a good land, which the Most High our power doth give us.
Shabbat Shalom, Shem Yachazak, Ban Yahweh, Ban Yahshua. Verse 26. Notwithstanding, ye would not go up, but rebel against the commandments of the Lord our power. And ye murmured in your tents and said, because the Lord hated us, he has brought us forth out of the land of Egypt, to deliver us into the hand of the Amorites, to destroy us. Whither shall we go? Our brethren have discouraged our heart, saying, the people is greater and taller than we. The cities are great and walled up to heaven. And moreover, we have seen the sons of the Anakims there. Then I said unto you, dread not, neither be afraid of them. The Lord your power, which goeth before you, he shall fight for you, according to all that he did for you in Egypt before your eyes.
Shabbat Shalom, family. Brother Azar, tribe of Judah, nation of Israel. This is verse 30. No, 31. And in the wilderness where thou hast seen how that the Lord thy power bare thee, as a man doeth bear his son, and all the way ye went until ye came into this place. Ye in this thing ye did not believe the Lord your power, who went in the way before you to search out a place to pitch your tents and fire by night, to show you about what way you should go, and a cloud by day. And the Lord heard the voice of your words and was wroth and swear, saying, Surely there shall not one of these men of this evil generation see that good land which I swear to give unto your fathers.
All right, thank you, sir. I have the choir come forward and set up real quick.
Make sure you're.
All right, let's go to 2 Timothy 2. Yeah. Yeah, it's on. I think what it is, it's on that automatic 480 for the stream.
Check. You hear me? Check. Yeah, we good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Ready?
Yep.
Hello. Ready? All right, we're going to get to the lesson here. And the lesson has to do with the power of patience. All right. And I'm going to read the commentary here real quick while we're setting up. It says, in a world of fast-paced food and shortcuts for anything, you can imagine we have become a society with no sense of patience. Oftentimes, the fact that we are to wait on the Father as opposed to have instant access in the sense of seeing physical manifestations of His power, we often get impatient and lose hope at times. What is needed is a new way of thinking in a society where patience is no longer preached, especially as those who are promised to inherit the world, if we only endure. So we're going to go first to Luke 21, 12 through 19. And this is just something to think about just in general, like when you start to think about the way people are, like it seems like their attention span is a lot shorter these days. I remember we were on the street talking to people and they're sitting there asking questions, but then it's like they're not even focused on what you're saying. You ask me a question, but do you even, you going to wait 10 seconds to get the answer? You understand? The attention span is really bad these days, and I think it comes from the media. It's the way we for example, you got you got like thousands of channels now. So you don't have to really focus in on things anymore. You just keep clicking if you want, just keep going through it. Now you have the scan channel on your radio and it just goes through the channel. That's what people like today. Just skipping all over the place. Right? Let's read that.
This is Luke chapter 21, verse 12. But before all these, they shall lay their hands on you and persecute you, delivering you up to the synagogues and into prisons, being brought before kings and rulers for my name's sake. And they shall turn to you for a testimony. Settle it therefore in your hearts, not to meditate before what ye shall answer. Verse 15. For I will give you a mouth and wisdom, which all your adversaries shall not be able to gainsay nor resist. And ye shall be betrayed both by parents and brethren and kinsfolks and friends. And some of you shall they cause to be put to death. And ye shall be hated of all men for my name's sake. But there shall not an hair of your head perish, and your patience possess ye your souls.
All right, so the whole deal is this whole thing, to make it through this, you're going to need a lot of patience. And it's going to come times where you may be tried. If you have to represent this truth, you may be called to represent it even in the face of prison and all of that when it comes down to it. And that's a lot for us right now, but that's why the Most High puts things on, in baby steps. He's giving you this time right here to be able to process everything and understand what the work is really going to ultimately become. In a world full of lies, the truth is going to become a problem. You understand? Most people like to be lied to. That's just a fact. Let's go to Romans 12, 4 through 21. Most people like to be lied to. Okay? And the whole deal is, it says, in patience possess ye your souls. It's going to take some time for you too, folks. We'll get calls and they'll ask for prayer and things, and they think that overnight they're just going to be done with certain problems that they've been carrying for years. It doesn't work like that. You've learned certain patterns. Outside of the demons that are there, you've learned your own patterns with the things that you were doing. So you have to be patient and just take day to day, fast, pray when you need to, stay in the Word, surround yourself by information there's so many videos and things you can watch. There's really no excuse at this point. You understand that you can be watching as far as the church and just keeping yourself focused in these last days. So you have to just utilize all these tools and be patient with it. The people of the past didn't have all this. They just read through the scriptures and that was enough for them. So what is wrong with us? It still comes down to that patience. That's the real issue. All right? Let's read that.
This is Romans chapter 12, verse 4. For as we have many members in one body, and all members have not the same office, so we, being many, are one body in Christ, and every one member is one of another. Having then gifts differing according to the grace that is given to us, whether prophecy, let us prophesy according to the proportion of faith, or ministry, let us wait on our ministering, or he that teacheth on teaching, or he that exhorteth on exhortation. He that giveth, let him do it with simplicity. He that ruleth with diligence. He that showeth mercy with cheerfulness. Let love be without dissimulation. Abhor that which is evil. Cleave to that which is good. Be kindly affectioned one to another with brotherly love, and honor, preferring one another. Not slothful in business, fervent in spirit, serving the Lord, rejoicing in hope, patient in tribulation, continuing instant in prayer, distributing to the necessity of saints, given to hospitality. Bless them which persecute you. Bless and curse not. Rejoice with them that do rejoice, and weep with them that weep. Be of the same mind one toward another. Mind not high things, but condescend to men of low estate. Be not wise in your own conceits. Recompense to no man evil for evil. Provide things honest in the sight of all men. If it be possible, as much as lieth in you, live peaceably with all men. Dearly beloved, avenge not yourselves, but rather give place unto wrath. For it is written, vengeance is mine, I will repay, saith the Lord. Therefore, if thine enemy hunger, feed him. If he thirst, give him drink. For in so doing thou shalt heap coals of fire on his head. Be not overcome of evil, but overcome evil with good.
All right, so we got to be patient. And it's not about sinking to someone's level. Well, they did this to me, so I'm going to do that to them. That's foolishness. It's funny, Elder just did I think it was a radio show, basically where he was going into how our people took on voodoo and all this stuff coming out of the church. That was a good one because it's funny, that's one of the things we would do. We would go to these guys, these witches, and ask, can we get even with somebody? How can I find this, let me see a little angle here to get even with somebody here. And the thing is, it said, be not overcome of evil, but overcome evil with good. The proper thing is to be patient with people and understand also that they struggle with demons too. They're from the same world you're in, aren't they? You shouldn't be thinking about getting revenge on people, right? The Most High handles that. If it be His will to get revenge on that person, He'll deal with it. You're supposed to stay focused on this truth. Worry about yourself. What you're still struggling with, that could be an offense to someone if you don't deal with it. You understand? Be patient through tribulation. James 1, 2 through 12. Be patient through tribulation. You're going to go through some things. A lot of people, they get 1 or 2 offenses in the church, and they got to go somewhere else. I got to get out of here. Yeah. These people crazy. Yeah, I know. That's the whole point. It's called a curse. We're coming out of a curse. What do you expect? But part of that curse is also being impatient. So we'll be like, look, if this is the truth, I'm out of here, man. I can't deal with this. Not understanding that, guess what? That's part of the whole dynamic here. You can't read, I don't think there's one book you can probably go to in the Bible with probably the exception of probably Song of Solomon or something, where it's not talking about a situation where our people have an issue or dealing with impatience or dealing with offenses. Right. But it's somehow when we read the Bible, we miss all that. And it just becomes about, it's just love. What's more love than actually going through the worst of times with your people and still being there for them, trying to help them? Wasn't that what Christ was doing? So the whole thing is, our minds have deceived us, these spirits have deceived us, and we must understand that patience is a key part of this game. And we're going to get into some more scriptures here to prove that. Read that, please.
This is James chapter 1, verse 2. My brethren, count it all joy when you fall into diverse temptations, knowing this, that the trying of your faith worketh patience. But let patience have her perfect work, that ye may be perfect and entire, wanting nothing. If any of you lack wisdom, let him ask of the Most High, that giveth to all men liberally, and upbraideth not, and it shall be given him.
All right, we're going to stop there because through patience, you should be asking for wisdom. Even in those situations you get into with diverse temptations, heavy spirits and all that, you should be trying to figure out, all right, why does this keep happening to me? What's going on here? Is there something I'm doing here? You know, sometimes we have to examine just that aspect of things. What can I do better to avoid certain scenarios? Am I putting myself in those scenarios? You understand? This walk you have is full of lessons. If you're wise enough to pay attention. You understand? Let's continue. Let's read.
Verse 6, but let him ask in faith, nothing wavering. For he that wavereth is like a wave of the sea driven with the wind and tossed. For let not that man think that he shall receive anything of the Lord. A double-minded man is unstable in all his ways.
All right, so if you're double-minded in your operations, you're unstable in all your ways. You have to realize that when it comes down to it, you must be sure of what you're doing here. You must be sure of these scriptures and what they say and stick by them. That's a big problem for people, sticking by what the scriptures say as opposed to their own feelings. Okay? But that's no different than a wave of the sea. It's all over the place. That's how you are if you don't stick by these scriptures and do what they say. Read that, please.
Verse 9, let the brother of low degree rejoice in that he is exalted, but the rich in that he is made low, because as the flower of the grass he shall pass away. For the sun is no sooner risen with the burning heat, but it withereth the grass, and the flower thereof falleth, and the grace of the fashion of it perisheth. So also shall the rich man fade away in his ways. Blessed is the man that endureth temptation, for when he is tried, he shall receive the crown of life, which the Lord hath promised to them that love him.
All right, and it's not talking about people who on purpose putting themselves in situations where they're tempted. It's talking about those that are trying to walk the right path, and the devil seems to try to find you no matter what you're doing. Those are the people that's going to get the crown of life. If you just putting yourself on purpose in situations where you're going to be tempted, that's on you. You can't say, oh, what the Most High doing, man? I can't seem to get over these temptations. Well, stop, look, make some space here. Give it some time. Get away from your confusion. That's the thing. Look, we said it before, like, you keep it up, saying, well, the Most High ain't done with me yet. He's going to be done with you. You got to get away from temptation and foolishness. Stop playing the game. All right? Romans 5, 1 through 5. And it says at the end of that, you get a crown of life. That's another thing, man. It didn't say temptations won't happen. It says you have to endure them. That's all this world is now. If your problem is food, they're going to have all the commercials possible to get you running back to get some food. If your problem is women or men or whatever, they got commercials for that too. They got clothing to dress people up a certain way for that. You're surrounded by temptation. It says that Christ was tempted at all points. Even in the days back then, you had Romans and stuff, and our people trying to go with what they were doing, and was walking around in confusion. So he still had to endure that time too. Reminder, he was called a Nazarene for a reason. They used to, that was a demeaning thing because they knew that was like a low, basically a ghetto. So you think he didn't see a thing or two? Of course he did. He didn't get that excuse. You don't get it either. You have to start correcting your ways and walk away from temptation and confusion. And be patient with that process. Because you're going to notice you're going to be trying to fast and everything. And I think I've said this before. People from you ain't seen in years are going to pop up all of a sudden. I ain't heard from them in years. Or months or whatever. And now all of a sudden, I was thinking about you. How'd that happen? Because the demons are connecting with that person to throw you off right now while you're trying to focus yourself. You have to pay attention to the game and be patient enough to notice it. All right? Let's read that.
This is Romans chapter 5, verse 1. Therefore, being justified by faith, we have peace with the Most High through Yeshua, by whom also we have access by faith into this grace wherein we stand, and rejoice in hope of the glory of the Most High. And not only so, but we glory in tribulations also, knowing that tribulation worketh patience, and patience experience, and experience hope. And hope maketh not ashamed, because the love of the Most High is shed abroad in our hearts by the Holy Spirit, which is given unto us.
All right, it said patience. When it comes to tribulation, tribulation worketh patience, and patience experience, and experience hope. That's how you develop that hope. That's how you look at harder situations than what you're going through now and be like, you know what? Most High gonna be with me through this. Through patience. And I was thinking about a funny dynamic you can look at. There's people, for example, they like going to the gym, right? They like feeling the burn, and then there's people that say, that burn in my arm, man, I can't do this, man. And they go for about a week, and then they ain't coming back. Right? Because that patience wasn't endured. They didn't start to appreciate that adversity that they were feeling. Not realizing that adversity was going to make them stronger. So that's the process. You have to be patient through the rough times too, because it's only going to make you stronger if you're wise enough to learn lessons from it. All right? 2 Peter 1, 4 through 10. I mean, think of the adversity that our forefathers went through. And it was nothing like today. I mean, you had, for example, you had Abraham. You had Lot, that was his whole family and so forth were kidnapped, and that whole Sodom thing that went down. And he had to go out to war with just a few servants, really, in comparison to what he had to go to war with, against, excuse me. There was constantly adversity, but they had faith in the Most High and handled their business. That's what we're asking you to do. Because, it says the laborers are few. There's only a few leaders as opposed to people. And we can't be everywhere at once. When it goes down, there's going to be different places people are in. And the Most High is calling us all to be on the same page in those times too. Patient in understanding and strong in the spirit, understanding that our kingdom is coming. And that we have a mission to complete. We have to raise up Jacob all over this earth before it's all said and done, and preach the liberty and truth of the Bible to the people. All right? Read that.
This is 2 Peter chapter 1, verse 4. Whereby are given unto us exceeding great and precious promises, that by these ye might be partakers of the divine nature, having escaped the corruption that is in the world through lust. And beside this, giving all diligence, add to your faith virtue, and to virtue knowledge, and to knowledge temperance, and to temperance patience, and to patience godliness, and to godliness brotherly kindness, and to brotherly kindness charity. For if these be in you and abound, they make you that ye shall neither be barren nor unfruitful in the knowledge of Yeshua. But he that lacketh these things is blind, and cannot see afar off, and hath forgotten that he was purged from his old sins. Wherefore the rather, brethren, give diligence to make your calling and election sure. For if ye do these things, ye shall never fall. All right,
and that's the key thing. We can't forget that we fell, tons of times. We went through all kinds of stuff when we're interacting with people. The biggest thing with us is just being able to fess up and be honest about the things we're struggling with. Sometimes people are shocked, like, man, that seemed like I thought it was going to go, that meeting was going to go rougher than that. Well, it depends on how you carry yourself. Yeah. If you're unrepentant, if you're going to come off with ego, we're going to give you that attitude back. Mm-hmm. Because you got to learn. But if you're someone that understands and has wisdom enough to see the faults, and we can start to build on that and fix you, that's a whole different conversation. Mm-hmm. All right? It says, but he that lacketh these things is blind and cannot see afar off. Let's go to James 5, 7 through 11. And have forgotten that he was purged from his old sins. That's another reason why each and every individual goes to the water too. Acknowledging their own sins. All right? That's the bottom line. Christ even went to the water. And he wasn't even dealing with that. But he was showing something. Humility also. There's not really ultimately one good but the Father. Okay? And that's how we have to handle things in these last days, with patience, understanding that we all have faults, and that we can all build from each other, in these last days, especially as this, if we use this book as our guide, we'll be able to do so. All right? Let's go into James 5. Read that, please.
This is James chapter 5, verse 7. Be patient, therefore, brethren, unto the coming of the Lord. Behold, the husbandman waited for the precious fruit of the earth, and had long patience for it, until he received the early and latter rain. Be ye also patient, establish your hearts, for the coming of the Lord draweth nigh. Grudge not one against another, brethren, lest ye be condemned. Behold, the judge standeth before the door. Take, my brethren, the prophets, who have spoken in the name of the Lord, for an example of suffering, affliction, and of patience. Behold, we count them happy which endure. Ye have heard of the patience of Job, and have seen the end of the Lord, that the Lord is very pitiful and of tender mercy.
And I think that's a perfect example too, the patience of Job. Mind you, Job was praying for his whole family. They were doing whatever they were doing. They got canceled out. But the whole thing is, he was praying for his whole family. He had to be patient through all of that and represent them before the Most High. That's what we're called to do too. That's another reason why we must clean ourselves up. We're praying for others here, not just for ourselves. All right? It says, be patient, therefore, brethren, unto the coming of Christ. Remember, it says, he that endured to the end, the same shall be saved. This is part of the process too. That patience, sticking it out, understanding that it's not something that happens overnight. Abraham waited, he got a promise, he had to wait 30 years for that promise to start. There's certain downtime that you're going to have with the Most High where he's allowing you to go through certain things just to see if you're going to stick with him. Just to prove that. I mean, of course, he knows the end of everything, but it's the same thing we did with Job. Like, okay, well, hey, see, that's my servant right there. You're going to do what I say. Watch. It's the same thing today. It's not about a feeling all the time, folks. You're going to have downtime. Stop relying on feelings and deal with the word. Be patient. All right? Read that, please. Matter of fact, no, excuse me. Let's jump down to Galatians 5:22 through 26. Excuse me. And I want to touch on something while we're going there. It says, grudge not one against another, brethren, lest ye be condemned. Behold, the judge standeth before the door. Because look, if Christ is judging this thing, what excuse are you going to come up with why you having beef with this other person? What can you say to him is your excuse? He was murdered by his own, basically by the being set up by his own people. False witnesses, everything. People didn't even know him was in on that mob, I'll guarantee it. Because that's how people like to be. Mob mentality. And still he forgave them and asked the Most High to forgive them, for they know not what they do. That's another reason why patience, look, you better have it in these last days, because you're not going to be able to go before the judge, the king of all kings at the door like, hey, can I get in? Well, what about this person you forgive? Yeah, but they was talking about, I felt like they was talking about me on the side. That's foolishness. He's going to hold you accountable. All right? Read that, please.
Galatians chapter 5, verse 22. But the fruit of the Spirit is love, joy, peace, long-suffering, gentleness, goodness, faith, meekness, temperance. Against such there is no law. And they that are Christ have crucified the flesh with the affections and lusts. If we live in the Spirit, let us also walk in the Spirit. Let us not be desirous of vain glory, provoking one another, envying one another.
Right. Stop looking to be, in some special spot or something, looking for some shine here. All right? The work is what it is. We're supposed to be doing this for the Most High, his business. All right? It says, and they that are Christ have crucified the flesh. And we're going to go to the testament of Joseph here for this next part. But it says, have crucified the flesh with affections and lust. If you're in Christ, you're eventually going to get rid of that confusion. All right? You're going to realize how vain it is and how much time you really wasted being into all that. All right? Because really, if you look at it, ultimately, that's one of the biggest things that caused our fall in the first place. And why people are so compromised today when you ask them, hey, what do you think about this thing or that? It's their own lust and confusion that their eye lenses are made cloudy with. I can't judge that. You ain't judging it because you're too busy sinning. So now you feel compassion for this other situation. Right? It's foolishness. Let's go there, though. Let's look at this testament of Joseph here again. For those that are new, this is an account of our 12 patriarchs, our 12 forefathers. They left the record and they went into a few key things that we can all learn from. It's a testament of Joseph, and it's located in a pseudepigrapha. They call it pseudo, even though nothing's false about it. All right, or should I say nothing about this book in it? All right, 9, 1 through 5, and then 10, 1 through 2. And as a matter of fact, they also used this book to also round out translation when it came to, for example, your Jasher and all that. They actually coincide when you go into the R.H. Charles commentary. All right. This is 9, 1 through 5. It says, and often, can you read? Oh, you got it. Okay. This is talking about Joseph being seduced, or she was attempting to seduce him when he was in servitude in Egypt for a time by the Egyptian woman there. Read that, please.
It's the Testament of Joseph, chapter 9, verse 1. And often has she sent unto me, saying, consent to fulfill my desire, and I will release thee from thy bonds, and I will free thee from the darkness. And not even in thought did I incline unto her, for the Most High loveth him who in a den of darkness combines fasting with chastity, rather than the man who in king's chambers combines luxury with license. And if a man liveth in chastity, and desireth also glory, and the Most High knoweth that it is expedient for him, he bestoweth this also upon him, even as upon me. How often, though she were sick, did she come down to me at unlooked-for times, and listened to my voice as I prayed. And when I heard her groaning, I held my peace. For when I was in her house, she was wont to bear her arms, and breasts and legs, that I might lie with her. For she was very beautiful, splendidly adorned in order to beguile me. And the Most High guarded me from her devices. This is chapter 10, verse 1 through 2. Ye see therefore, my children, how great things patience worketh, and prayer with fasting. So ye too, if ye follow after chastity and purity with patience and prayer, with fasting and humility of heart, the Most High will dwell among you, because he loveth chastity.
All right, we're going to go to Romans 15, 4 through 6. But I wanted to comment on this, because he says, look, how great things patient worketh in prayer with fasting. Mind you, Joseph received a kingdom. He was ruling over Egypt after working so hard to do the right thing. You had these situations, and the patriarchs, they talked on it, man. They went into it. Where, basically she was trying to do witchcraft on him. Whether through her seductions of the body, or tell you she made some kind of love potion type stuff at one point. Is that not today the same thing going on? So the whole thing is, we still have to be patient through all of that, because here it is, he was a slave at that time. The easy way out would have been just to go ahead and be down and, have a few riches or whatever. But as you can see, he was rewarded with something even greater. He would have just been over a little house. He ruled the whole kingdom, basically. And ultimately left a legacy to his children, because they have a kingdom to inherit now. That's what you got to think about here.
Yeah.
Read that, please.
This is Romans chapter 15, verse 4. For whatsoever things were written aforetime were written for our learning, that we through patience and comfort of the Scriptures might have hope. Now the Most High have patience and consolation grant you to be like-minded one toward another, according to Yeshua, that ye may with one mind and one mouth glorify the Most High, even the Father of our Lord Yeshua. Wherefore receive ye one another.
All right, so the job is to be patient one towards another. Like I said, stop trying to find that excuse why you can't work things out with people.
Yeah, right.
It's a bunch of mess. You're not getting in the kingdom like that. Christ said, if you can't forgive, guess what? The Most High won't forgive you. 2 Corinthians 6, 1 through 10. How many offenses? The one or two offenses we have, you know how many offenses against the Most High we must have?
Yeah, right.
And still counting? Man didn't count on that. So that's the whole thing. We got to come off of it, man. That's about, the bottom line is people are selfish. It's about what about this offense against me?
Yeah, that's right.
Instead of just solving your problem, understanding, guess what? they're not going to care about that once they roll them tanks down the street, folks. And look, wait a minute, nah, this one's right in that occasion. Nah. This person offended them. Go ahead and let them slide. No, it ain't gonna work like that. They don't care about either one of you. So you're supposed to be joining together on things, understanding in the spirit that ultimately the Father's about to allow this world to go crazy for a second. And it's going to pay being around people of sound mind and judgment. So you might as well learn it now to be included in that group. All right? Being of sound mind, you realize stuff like that. Like, look, this ain't worth all this drama we have against each other. All right? Read that, please.
This is 2 Corinthians chapter 6, verse 1. We then, as workers together with him, beseech you also that ye receive not the grace of the Most High in vain. For he saith, I have heard thee in the time accepted, and in the time of salvation have I succored thee. Behold, now is the accepted time. Behold, now is the day of salvation. Giving no offense in anything, that the ministry be not blamed, but in all things approving ourselves as the ministers of the Most High, in much patience, in afflictions, in necessities, in distress, in stripes, in imprisonments, in tumults, in labors, in watchings, in fastings.
Let's hold it right there, though. Notice it said, giving no offense in anything, that the ministry be not blamed. You all are a testament to the ministry when people see you. If you're off, they're going to say, man, this is what the truth is. That's what you have to focus on. Everything you're doing wrong that you know in the flesh, in the spirit, and should I say both, you know this ain't right, ain't something that Christ would approve of. People are looking at. They see that and say, man, this is the movement, that's the truth. All right? Giving no offense in anything, that the ministry be not blamed. That's ultimately what happens. If you haven't noticed, people still blaming the Most High for things that go wrong instead of Satan. It's weird, right? But that's how it works. So you have to be up on game and what's actually happening here. The devil will deceive people, but they're doing it through us. That's how it happens. All right? Read that, please.
Verse 6. By pureness, by knowledge, by long suffering, by kindness, by the Holy Spirit, by love unfeigned, by the word of truth, by the power of the Most High, by the armor of righteousness on the right hand and on the left, by honor and dishonor, by evil report and good report, as deceivers and yet true.
It said by evil report and good report, meaning what? It's not saying you should be doing things evil.
Yeah.
It's talking about even when you're doing the right thing, somebody's saying something about you doing something evil, hey, you got to endure all that. I mean, that's definitely a part of this work. If you're doing it right, somebody's going to say something, a straight up lie about you. That's just what it is. Whispering about you, yeah, these elders, man, they said this and that to me. Ain't telling what they did. Yeah. That's normal. But you got to be patient through it. All right, read.
Verse 9. As unknown and yet well known, as dying, and behold, we live, as chastened and not killed, as sorrowful, yet always rejoicing, as poor, yet making many rich, as having nothing, and yet possessing all things.
Right. And that's got to be our attitude going forward. Let me tell you, it's funny. A lot of us lived in bad neighborhoods and stuff like that, but yet somehow we travel the world, we start to think we something special now. Yeah, man, I can only live in this area, that area, this is the finest things. And it's like, what's wrong with you? It said here, look, as sorrowful yet always rejoicing, as poor yet making many rich, meaning you're actually helping people with this work. That's how you're making people rich, okay? As having nothing yet possessing all things. Because even when you end up having nothing, you're supposed to be rejoicing. It shouldn't be a conditional thing. A lot of people are so caught in the spirit of covetousness, if they don't get certain things they want, somebody's going to catch hell for that. We got to repent of that. Even in our own houses, somebody's going to catch hell for that. All right? Let's see. 1 Timothy 6 and 11 through 12. You got that? All right, read that, please.
This is 1 Timothy chapter 6, verse 11. But thou, O man of God, flee these things, and follow after righteousness, godliness, faith, love, patience, meekness. Fight the good fight of faith. Lay hold on eternal life, whereunto thou art also called, and hast professed a good profession before many witnesses.
All right. Follow after righteousness, godliness, faith, love, patience, meekness. Now, the thing is, these are the tools if you want to fight the good fight of faith. These are the tools you're going to need. Okay? You're going to have to walk right from here on out. Romans 8:22 to 25. You're going to have to walk right. You can't keep using the excuse of this is just the way I am, as if there's not supposed to be any change. Well, this is the foolishness we say in the world. Take it or leave it. Well, Most High gonna leave it. You might have had this simple girl or guy or whatever that kept putting up with that. The Most High gonna leave it. So get it together. That's straight. All right. Read that, please.
This is Romans chapter 8. Romans chapter 8, verse 22. For we know that the whole creation groaneth and travaileth in pain together until now. And not only they, but ourselves also, which have the first fruits of the Spirit, even we ourselves groan within ourselves, waiting for the adoption, to wit, the redemption of our body. For we are saved by hope, but hope that is seen is not hope. For what a man seeth, why doth he yet hope for? But if we hope for that we see not, then do we with patience wait for it.
Right. That's the whole thing. And I wanted to get this. I was thinking about something. It said that the whole creation groaneth and travaileth in pain until now. Look what they've done to the earth since we've been on the bottom. And I was thinking on another level, look at just the animals. They tell you in Joshua that the animals don't speak because of that curse that came down. Imagine you spend the rest of your life, you can't even talk to nobody. You sniffing them, you gotta bump into them and all this other stuff to get your point across. Even the animals are looking at us like, man, y'all gotta hurry up, man. This is ridiculous. That's a curse. So I'm just saying this, look, we gotta really realize what this is about, man. And take upon us, a lot more responsibility in this too. No blaming nobody else from here on out. You control you. And guess what? By you learning control of yourself, you'll be able to teach your children the right way to walk. All right? Hebrews 12. In fact, let's see here. Yeah, Hebrews 12. 1 through 14. Read that, please.
This is Hebrews chapter 12, verse 1. Wherefore, seeing we also are compassed about with so great a cloud of witnesses, let us lay aside every weight and the sin which doth so easily beset us, and let us run with patience the race that is set before us, looking unto Yeshua, the author and finisher of our faith, who for the joy that was set before him endured the cross, despising the shame, and is set down at the right hand of the throne of the Most High. For consider him that endured such contradiction of sinners against himself, lest ye be weary and faint in your minds. Ye have not yet resisted unto blood, striving against sin. And ye have forgotten the exhortation which speaketh unto you as unto children. My son, despise not thou the chastening of the Most High, nor faint when thou art rebuked of him. For whom the Most High loveth, he chasteneth, and scourgeth every son whom he receiveth. If ye endure chastening, the Most High deal with you as with sons. For what son is he whom the Father chasteneth not? But if ye be without chastisement, whereof all are partakers, then are ye bastards and not sons. Furthermore, we have had fathers of our flesh which corrected us, and we gave them reverence. Shall we not much rather be in subjection unto the Father of spirits and live? For they verily for a few days chasten us after their own pleasure, but he for our profit, that we might be partakers of his holiness. Now no chastening for the present seemeth to be joyous, but grievous. Nevertheless afterward it yieldeth the peaceable fruit of righteousness unto them which are exercised thereby. Wherefore lift up the hands which hang down, and the feeble knees, and make straight paths for your feet, lest that which is lame be turned out of the way, but let it rather be healed. Follow peace with all men, and holiness, without which no man shall see the Lord.
All right, so it's a process, man. And you can't get upset at the process. Why am I going through this? Why am I going through that? Hey, sometimes it's going to take a little wisdom, but you need to examine that and not complain so much about it. Sometimes the Most High will whoop you because you ain't stopped doing childish things yet. So he's whooping you like a child. You just have to be wise enough to see it. You understand? Stop making it everyone else. He said, look, wherefore lift up hands which hang down and feeble knees. Ultimately, you'll learn to start praising him properly once you put down that confusion. You realize that he's putting you through a process here to build you up to be better. Better than you once were in the world. All right? Let's go to 2 Peter 3:3-14. It's funny, it says, no chastening for the present seems to be joyous. Look, while you're getting beat by the belt, you ain't going to enjoy it. But nonetheless, it was there for the process so that you become better. All right? So that you don't destroy yourself with the rest of this confused world. Read that, please.
Second Peter chapter 3, verse 3. Knowing this first, that there shall come in the last days scoffers, walking after their own lusts, and saying, where is the promise of his coming? For since the fathers fell asleep, all things continue as they were from the beginning of the creation. For this they willingly are ignorant of, that by the word of the Most High the heavens were of old, and the earth standing out of the water and in the water.
All right, so they're willingly ignorant. They're doing it on purpose. Because they'd rather continue in sin. All right? You got to endure that foolishness too. Philosophy and all this mess, especially our people, we got all kinds of philosophy. We'll mix philosophies. Even if they contradict each other. But because we're so stuck in our confusion, we don't even understand they contradict each other. And speak like it's something deep we're saying. All right? Read.
Verse 6. Whereby the world that then was, being overflowed with water, perished. But the heavens and the earth, which are now, by the same word are kept in store, reserved unto fire against the day of judgment and perdition of ungodly men. But, beloved, be not ignorant of this one thing, that one day is with the Most High as 1,000 years, and 1,000 years as one day.
All right, so it's as if it was 2 seconds ago for the Most High. The rising and the falling of Babylon is like 10 seconds to him. You understand? So we have to think, don't take this time as weakness for the Most High. His kindness here, giving us that grace period to get ourselves together and keep abusing it. You understand? He's the one with real patience, watching our mess. Let's continue on.
Verse 9. The Lord is not slack concerning his promise, as some men count slackness, but is long-suffering to usward, not willing that any should perish, but that all should come to repentance. But the day of the Lord will come as a thief in the night, in the which the heavens shall pass away with a great noise, and the elements shall melt with fervent heat. The earth also and the works that are therein shall be burned up. Seeing then that all these things shall be dissolved, what manner of persons ought ye to be in all holy conversation and godliness?
All right, so it's saying, look, right now, guess what? Everybody should be on godliness level here.
Yeah, right.
And this, he was saying this back then, before this stuff was even invented. We know that the earth can be melted down like that now. Not to mention when Christ hit the earth. We know that for sure, and we're still rebelling. But that shows our foolishness because, look, we sit here and claim we need signs, we need this to change. Look, which more signs do you need? They have stuff right now that can do exactly what we're reading right here. It says, look, the day of the Lord comes as a thief in the night, in which the heavens shall pass away with a great noise, and the elements shall melt with fervent heat. We're in that day right now. There should be no more excuses. All right? Read.
Verse 12, looking for and hastening unto the coming of the day of the Most High, wherein the heavens being on fire shall be dissolved, and the elements shall melt with fervent heat. Nevertheless we, according to his promise, look for new heavens and a new earth, wherein dwelleth righteousness. Wherefore, beloved, seeing that ye look for such things, be diligent that ye may be found of him in peace, without spot and blameless.
All right. Let's jump to Sirach 2, 1 through 7. And it said, look, to be found without spot and blameless. That means by then, you got to have your act together already, man. You're not going to all of a sudden change when that hits. The process has to be in place now. The more you sin, the worse it's going to be for you. It's mind control, if you will. Demons are good at that. So if you're just making them your best friend right now, you're going to do it then. You're not going to change because all of a sudden there's a war that breaks out. If that was the case, then there'd be no one who was going to fight against Christ when he returns, but we know that's going to happen. Right? You would think they repent, right? No. Read.
This is Sirach chapter 2, verse 1. My son, if thou come to serve the Most High, prepare thy soul for temptation. Set thy heart aright, and constantly endure, and make not haste in time of trouble. Cleave unto him, and depart not away, that thou mayest be increased at thy last end. Whatsoever is brought upon thee, take cheerfully, and be patient when thou art changed to a low estate. For gold is tried in the fire, an acceptable man in the furnace of adversity. Believe in him, and he will help thee. Order thy way aright, and trust in him. Ye that fear the Most High, wait for his mercy, and go not aside, lest ye fall.
Right. You better stay straight. You better go on that straight path, lest you fall. Don't think that you can now be the one to go back to the world. It'll be different for me for a second. Yeah, I'll be all right. That may be your last time going back to the world. And it said, look, if thou come to serve the Most High, prepare thy soul for temptation. That's another reason why you don't want to go off the path, because you now have a target on your back. The demons understand you at least are comprehending what's going on here, which means you will now be that target when you attempt to go back for just a little taste. All right? Cleave unto him and depart not away, that thou mayest be increased at the last end. Look what it says here, though, verse 4. Whatsoever is brought upon thee, take cheerfully, and be patient when thou change to a lower state. A lot of people are in a lower state right now. They're going through hell, seems like. But the Most High is putting you through a process. Sometimes we put ourselves there. And until we realize we put ourselves in that lower state, he's going to keep hitting us with that belt. We have to repent of those actions and learn. And he'll build us back up. All right? Let's continue. Let's see our last scripture here. We're going to go to John 15, 16 through 27. All right, read that, please.
St. John chapter 15, verse 16. Ye have not chosen me, but I have chosen you, and ordained you, that ye should go and bring forth fruit, and that your fruit should remain, that whatsoever ye shall ask of the Father in my name, he may give it you. These things I command you, that ye love one another. If the world hate you, you know that it hated me before it hated you. If you were of the world would love his own. But because ye are not of the world, but I have chosen you out of the world, therefore the world hateth you. Remember the word that I said unto you, the servant is not greater than his Lord. If they have persecuted me, they will also persecute you. If they have kept my saying, they will keep yours also. But all these things will they do unto you for my name's sake, because they know not him that has sent me. If I had not come and spoken unto them, they had not had sin. But now they have no cloak for their sin. He that hateth me hateth my Father also. if I had not done among them the works which none other man did, they had not had sin. But now have they both seen and hated both me and my Father. But this cometh to pass, that the world might be fulfilled that is written in their law. They hated me without a cause. But when the Comforter is come, whom I will send unto you from the Father, even the Spirit of truth, which proceedeth from the Father, he shall testify of me. And ye also shall bear witness, because ye have been with me from the beginning.
All right, and we can't be so quick to complain about everything. Check this out. He said, look, really, ultimately, and we even more so without excuse, the people were even more sinful at that point because he was healing people and everything. They're seeing all kinds of miracles going down, and they still went against him. You know, this is the thing about it. Let's go back here for a second here. It says, remember the words in verse 20. I said unto you, the servant is not greater than his Lord. If they have persecuted me, they will also persecute you. If they have kept my saying, they will keep yours also. But all these things will they do unto you for my name's sake, because they know not him that sent me. That's ultimately what it's about. People don't know the Most High, nor do they care to know him. So when you go on this path, you got to be patient, understanding that, like we gave the dynamics in the movies. They keep telling you, a lot of people aren't ready to be unplugged from this thing. You must be patient and understand that, because you were there too at one point. So it says here, if I had not come and spoken unto them, they had not had sin. I got bad news for you folks now. You got the internet clips. The moment you got them, you was now held on a higher level of accountability now. So you might as well get it right now. And now you in class right now. You understand? The Most High is teaching you right now. So you got to do the right things here on out. It's just what it is. The whole world is going to get this message before it's said and done. And they're still going to choose a side. So we might as well be patient through this and choose the right one while we have this time left. Because a lot of people are just wasting all this grace. The whole world has grace right now, really, if you look at it. They're wasting their time away. This valuable time before everything goes down. All right? So with that being said, we have to be patient. We have to realize that that's a key part of overcoming all sin. And just overcoming just the adversity ahead. All right? So with that being said, we're going to go into a Q&A and a couple announcements there.
We'll leave it.
Yeah, leave it till we're done there.
Any questions online?
Yeah, any questions, anything pops up there, you can tell me. All right. Where's my mic guy here? Yeah.
Anybody have a question? Raise your hand, I'll bring you the mic.
Any questions here? Check on my online there. If there's no questions there. You need envelopes? Okay. No, they need envelopes there. Yep.
Question?
All right. Another just a reminder while we're waiting. Just if there's any issues financially people going through, make sure that you're going through the proper channels with the church for those kind of things. You know, to make sure we're just not bringing things to people to put it on them. Does make things awkward. Okay. Make sure that you're going through the proper channels for that. And if people are getting that kind of thing, make sure you're also going through the proper channels and make sure we know so that we can help correct any issues. All right. Let's see here. We have no questions. What else we got to go do?
Announcements. We go with announcements.
All right. We're going to go through the announcements here since it looks like we got no questions going on. And, no? Yeah, we good. There's no questions, right? All right, let's cut it.